Crystal, how long have you been a Swiftie?
My whole life is the short answer. I guess the long answer is when I was 8, that was when I first heard her name.
Okay. And did your mom bring you to the concert? Did you go with friends or how did that come about?
The Eras Tour concert, I went with my mom. I went twice, once in Santa Clara, that's local to me, and once in Amsterdam. Um, yeah. Reputation, I also went to in 2018, and I went with my mom and a friend of mine.
Okay. So your mom's a Swiftie too then.
I would say so, yes.
I think, what I have found is that, and we were talking before I hit record, I haven't been to one of her concerts, but any of my peers who have taken their daughters or now Swifties, like they are such fans. And I wish I had taken my daughter on her recent tour because I hear A, it was phenomenal. And B, there's just something magical that happens. And that C, she puts on a level of production that is beyond anyone's expectations. Like it's just something outstanding that's like worth the admission price, which is tends to be pretty high.
Yeah, it's a whole experience. The moment you enter the stadium and every single song she puts out, she makes each night really special. I saw a post recently that had like a list of why your night was special, and every single night had something that all the other nights didn't have,
Oh, wow.
which is pretty phenomenal. But don't worry, she will tour again at some point, and you will be front row.
Yes, I will. Well, we'll see if I can get that. That would be cool. You probably will be front row. Maybe we'll see each other there, Crystal. I wonder if well, okay. So what prompted you to do a course? Let's start with the course because I know you did the book, but how did you go about pitching a course to your alma mater and like actually teaching the class? And tell us what it's called.
The class is called Artistry, Policy, and Entrepreneurship, Taylor's version, of course. And I started it after I'd graduated. So I graduated from Cal with high honors in 2023. And at that time, I was seeing like an increasing entry of Taylor Swift to the academic space, which was really exciting. And I was seeing a lot of classes and discussions about her songwriting and her literary impact. And, coming from an economics background, I was like, what if I could do it from a different angle? So not only like the devices that she uses that are, similar to authors or poets, but how those come together to create lasting value. How does she create an entire, marketable world besides just individual songs or albums or merchandise? So that's kind of how the topic came about, and I'm just so grateful that I've gotten to do it.
It's amazing. And how many years have you taught it?
We've wrapped up our third semester this past spring, so the fall will be the fourth semester.
Okay. And you've gotten a lot of media coverage. Why do you think it got picked up by the news?
Yeah, I'm just really grateful that people saw my vision for the course and thought it was interesting. So not only news, but also students who wanted to take it, like faculty and surrounding like members of academia, people who've reached out to me, who are really just excited about this idea and seeing Taylor Swift as not just like a pop star or even not just like, a talented songwriter, but as someone you can learn from and someone whose career is interesting enough to lend itself to different interdisciplinary angles. Many people would say that Taylor's songs inspire you to reflect on yourselves, and that's what education does to me. Like it takes something and something that might be familiar or well known or well studied, and it inspires students and other people to think critically about it. I mentioned that my mom was a Swiftie, and when you went to the tour, it's just she's the one who's known me my whole life, all my eras and all my ups and downs, and she and I really like bond over Taylor's music and how that applies to our lives and things that we've gone through.
That's beautiful. And I think, that's part of the power of music. And like you said, she is such a talented songwriter. Not every performer writes their lyrics. So there's so many layers that I really learned to appreciate from reading your book. And I wonder, why the book? Was it to reach more people? And Yeah.
I was approached by my publisher, John Wiley and Sons. It is the best cold email I have ever received, and I I think it will be the best cold email of the foreseeable future. Yeah, I was just like sitting at my desk at work, and I checked my personal email, and they were like, "We're looking for someone to write a business book on Taylor, and we thought you'd be a good fit, having seen coverage of the course." So I never dreamed that this would be an option or something that people wanted, but now that it's out, I can't shut up about it.
Oh my God. I love that so much that's great. How many students can take your class? How many can sign up? Because I imagine there's a wait list.
Yes, we actually originally I planned for it to be first come, first served, but I got like a flood of interest, so I made it application based, and they just have to answer one question, which is if you could have a 10-minute version of any Taylor Swift song, what would it be? Um, and the way we did it was we accepted 44 students because that was the amount of songs on the Eras tour.
I love it. I love it. You kept with her because she's very into the numbers. I got even though I'm not a Swiftie, I got in the beginning when you started referencing the 13th. I'm like, I know that's like her lucky number. And somehow I knew that. It's just, I mean, she just infiltrates all of like the
For sure.
culture that you just learn things.
And my first class, the first semester of my class, we were section 13, so that was fun.
Uh, coincidentally or on
Yes,
purpose? Oh
coincidentally.
my God. And see, it was meant to be. And now you're doing
Yeah.
this book. I think that you will be getting other amazing opportunities, that it won't just be this wily,
Thank you,
publisher
Michelle.
reaching out. You've got such a bright future. There's no doubt in my mind. So I want to learn from you as much as I want to learn what you learned from Taylor, because like I said, you too are a role model. And I think there's
Oh,
probably reasons that you're drawn to Taylor beyond the music and the way she makes you feel, but just how she shows up as a woman and what's possible and pushing that bar higher and higher. And you're somebody who wants to see how high she can go too. That's what
for
I get.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I
that's
get.
beautiful and accurate. Yeah.
Yes, I can see that just from your credentials. Like I said, I was like, okay, this is a very driven, very intelligent, very thoughtful woman. And so, congrats on having done the book. Also, just putting a book out in the world is a huge accomplishment. So, we're going to learn. So, let's dive in. At the heart of it, so we're going to go big picture first before we get more like tangible. What is the impact that you think that Taylor has made in the world? Like, especially at such a young age. What to you, what is that impact? How would you summarize it?
Asking the big questions. I think Taylor's impact is just so great because on a quantity and a quality level, it's kind of exceeded all expectations or of what an artist can do. And so, it's easy to start with the quantity because, we can see her impact worldwide and how the Eras tour, and how she's broken so many records, just streaming wise and culturally. Um, and yet, dis I don't know if it's despite it or like in addition to it, she's impacted every single person in a different way. And so that's kind of the quality element that I see, where you can have a crowd of, thousands of people, and each person will have a different like favorite song or a different story to tell. And, you know, it's just so amazing that because usually you have like one or the other, right? Like you're either this like kind of untouchable, celebrity, or you're kind of this homegrown, down to earth, connecting with fans individually. But she just somehow has both. And I think she's really shown us, as you said, like what's possible as a woman and as a person in today's world. And she's really adapted to challenges, things that are unforeseen. Because you can have like the perfect plan for your life, and obviously, like it doesn't that rarely comes to fruition. But she's just so intuitive, and she understands her place in the world. When she was coming out, she was like, no, now that I have a single, like my first song is out, I'm like a role model. And she's never failed to kind of fill that role, whether it's just being vulnerable with what she's going through or kind of taking what people have said about her and turning it back on them. Just kind of every phase of life is mirrored in her discography and the way she handles things with grace.
I love that so much. Well, one of the things that I read that I found really interesting. So I knew she was one of the youngest billionaires. What I didn't realize, it was solely from being a songwriter and performer. So you had said she was sort of sandwiched between Rihanna and Jay-Z. Now, Rihanna became a billionaire from her makeup line, not from the music. And Jay-Z, was it from his alcohol? What does he have? Like a
Yeah,
line of,
he's got a few things.
yeah, but it was from
Alcohol.
products, not from
Yes, it
his
was from,
music.
yeah, it's from a separate line, separate lines.
Okay, so you say that she creates an experience over focusing on product sales and, mementos. So you call it merch with meaning. So tell us more about what we can learn from how Taylor's approached her music, because that was a really, I found that fascinating. I'm like, that's actually incredible that she did it from her songwriting and performing. And I saw that how her revenues jumped significantly
Mhm.
even within 1 year once she launched the Eras tour.
Yeah, she's brilliant at kind of creating a world around her music and making sure like every product she puts out is an intentional extension of it. Especially with the products that Taylor Swift fans have, it kind of encourages them to go back to the music. Versus like if I were using like a Fenty Beauty product, um, I probably wouldn't be as inspired to just go listen to Rihanna, Queen. But I don't see like a connection between, using her makeup and listening to her music. They're like separate things to me.
Yes.
But with Taylor, everything that I have kind of reminds me of something. I've got, I don't know if you can see, but I've got this like reputation book on the table behind me for those of you who are listening, like a reputation coffee table style book that came with my reputation ticket. And so, looking at it, it's like a book of, her lyrics and like an exclusive poem that came out at the time that she recited on the tour. And so all of that, it kind of takes me back to the music. And I think of the one time she did have a clothing line. It was a partnership with Stella McCartney.
Hmm.
And, it seems random on the surface, but that actually came about because she has a song called London Boy, which is about, her love of the city and her partner at the time, who was a British actor. And she calls herself like I'm a Tennessee Stella McCartney, being this girl from America. And she played the song for Stella McCartney. I don't know why I keep saying her full name, but
It's
she
okay.
played the
So
song for
people
Stella
know, because
McCartney. Yes.
because if you say Stella, yeah,
So
it's that's her
yeah,
brand. That's her
like
brand.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was Stella McCartney's idea, like, oh, why don't we collaborate? And
Yeah.
so I imagine that if anyone owns, clothing from that line, they would think of this song, this like
Mm.
explicit lyric, and then they'll think of, the Lover album where that song came from, and it'll, have them go back to the music, and it's creating memories over time. And oh, same with like, The Cardigan, which is a song from her album Folklore. She's released like a physical cardigan, and by now there are 12 versions of the cardigan. When I wrote the book, it was 11, but now there are 12 cardigans just based on different albums. And so she really just like the meaning of the song and the shelf life of the song is just it lasts so long, it continues to evolve. Yeah, that was all over the place, but I think it
No,
makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. You're basically saying that she does something very unique to other artists. Like you said, if I go pick up a product from Fenty Beauty, I'm not like, you know what, that makes me think of this particular song that I love that she's done. Let me go listen to that. Whereas somebody might look at the cardigan and remember the concert and remember the song or the Stella McCartney, whatever that piece was or those clothes were, the London Boy, and maybe just play that. And so the touch points be,
Exactly.
right? There's multiple
Yeah.
touch points now that keep bringing you back to the sort of the power of what she's intentionally doing. I mean, she's so brilliant. And, maybe people want to just brush it off as luck or something because they can't understand how this, intelligent, gorgeous, woman is like doing all this stuff at such a young age. But she's very intentional and very very bright. Like there's nobody can deny it, even if I feel like maybe people want to, though.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes people say like, "Oh, but Taylor's not like other artists can do that or other businesses can do that." And like to an extent, like, yes, she's not the only
Yeah.
talented artist who's come along. She's not the only one who can put on a good show. She's
Yeah.
not the only one with, even like a global presence or a business mind. But I like to me, she's the only one doing all of it, like consistently, simultaneously, and on this scale. It's just really cool to see.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think she could make another $1 billion just launching a red lipstick, personally.
Oh yeah, that James Dean daydream. Like,
Right? She could write, oh, is it connected to a song? Okay, see, she could literally, I have got another book for you and I've got that for Taylor. So Taylor, if you end up listening, you can steal my idea.
yes.
But she probably could make a fortune on a makeup line, but but she's intentionally choosing to be focusing on the experiences.
Yeah, because like, for her the music is the business and it's what she's always wanted to do. And, so everything that comes to her is kind of about that. And kind of like with you, like everything about you is kind of, wellness and inspiring woman. And I know you've written books, and you have this, podcast and this show. So I think we can all relate to something here.
Yeah, there's like a through line and staying true to that and the values that she cares about. Because you wrote about in the book too, how she said even if she stopped singing, she would continue songwriting. So it's just a part of her that she makes sort of the focal point of her work. And so, yeah, a friend of mine who went, she's like, when I listen to the lyrics, like the amount of meaning she can fit and just such, short verses, like is incredible. Like that's a huge talent. I mean, there's no denying it. Now it's making me see, look, we're talking about it. And I'm like, I got to start listening to some Taylor songs. Um, so you see the way Taylor writes songs through the lens of an economist, right? You wrote
I
about this.
do.
So,
Yes.
what does that mean, and what can we discern from that? Speaking of her songwriting abilities.
Yeah, the way I see it is that, or the way I treat it in the book is that each of her song is a distinct product. And so I think about the tangible elements that make up that product and how consumers can then get value out of it. I think of, the economic concept of utility and how it's just like the measure of happiness or satisfaction. And a lot of things you consume have like diminishing marginal utility. So over time, you might get bored of something is kind of the easy way to say it. But with Taylor, she makes the kind of music that you want to listen to again and again. And I think that like structure and context and lyrics all play a role in that. So with
Mm,
structure, it always mirrors the exact storyline that she's telling in the song. So whether there's an extra unexpected element to the song or she ended abruptly, like it's always intentional, and it envelops listeners in that world. With lyrics, she writes metaphorically and she connects and maps lyrics onto other songs. And it's open to interpretation. So listeners get to listen to it over time and build up like an appreciation for how those all work together, or maybe notice something that they hadn't noticed before. And with context, the songs that she's writing about, or the subjects that she's writing about, is always intentional, whether it's always purposeful, whether it's real life or fiction. And so consumers get this like seemingly exclusive glimpse into Taylor's thought process, which we always, like as consumers, we always want to kind of know more about something. And with Taylor, there's always somewhere deeper you can go. And her songs really offer that window.
yeah, and there's like the Easter eggs that she puts into the songs, right? And so that it invites people in to try to, it just gets people excited and waiting for the music to drop so that they can decode things, right? Let's go deeper on her relationships with her fans. So there's a story you talked about where a woman was going to sell her guitar that was signed by Taylor Swift to help fund her wedding. And
Yes.
her fan base came in, was like, oh, no, no, you're not going to give that up. They
We're
started
gonna
a
fund your
GoFundMe.
wedding.
Yes. And they funded her wedding.
Yes,
Like
they
that,
did.
again, I think sets her apart. So tell us more about fan loyalty and what we can learn. Let's say someone is starting their own business or, even just branding in general when you're trying to connect to an audience. What can we learn from Taylor about how she connects with fans?
She's used pretty much every tool at her disposal to connect with fans. When, 20 years ago, when she was walking into record label meetings for the first time, like she was telling them, I already have fans. Like I deserve this deal because, she was talking to people on MySpace. That was the big thing back then.
Yeah,
And like talking to fans individually, fans, if you could call them that at that point. But she was
sure.
talking to her supporters individually. She was developing the seeds for a fan base, even at that, like in 2005. And since then, she hasn't forgotten that component. She's still leveraged every social media platform for those relationships. Like the most recent ones using like YouTube Shorts or TikTok to, make these challenges for fans to participate in, which kind of continually stokes the idea that these songs are about me, Taylor, but also about you, the fans. She's used Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram to kind of stalk fans online and like respond to their comments or see, you know, respond to their comments, surprise them with gifts, or honor their requests. I see this like when I go on Yelp, and sometimes I see like the owners have responded to comments, which makes me feel like, oh, like they care about their business and they, listen to feedback. For businesses, that just continuous connection and prioritizing direct communication with them. So first, like that, like building a world, like, like the Easter eggs for fans to feel invested in whatever you're doing. So, like, I don't know if you're gonna put out something next week, maybe this week you would do like, a social media like scavenger hunt. And that way, when your product comes out, fans feel like they were a part of it.
Mm.
And then, just talking to them, getting to know their stories. Like she always used to have like meet and greets after the shows where she would pick like the most excited fans in the audience. And just like building that relationship. And then eventually you'll hope that, like with Taylor, the fans kind of have their own community and they can then build on each other, like with the fans' wedding. Or recently, Taylor visited a children's hospital in Florida,
Mm.
and after that visit, fans like donated thousands of dollars to individual
Oh,
patients' GoFundMe pages. And Taylor didn't even ask us to do that. We just like Taylor went there, so we want to support those kids. So it's it's like a positive ripple effect.
it's so powerful. That actually gave me goosebumps. I think that's so beautiful. She's created so much more than just music for people to consume and enjoy. Because you can think of a lot of artists where there isn't this level of like fandom and collaboration, and then there's such goodness. Like I feel like the energy she's putting out it's like a ripple effect, and then people continue that on. So philanthropy is obviously really important to you because I saw that on your bio. So why is that so important to you? Was there some particular experience, or was it because of someone like Taylor? Like what instilled that in you?
I'll start with a book connection and then I'll move into it. But as you know, the title of the book is The Glory of Giving Everything, and it's adapted from a lyric that's Take the glory, give everything. And I think that really underscores Taylor's philosophy of, she's accepting the fun and the fame, but she's also subjecting every part of her personal life for public consumption. But the way I see it is that there is joy and success in the giving itself. It's not like you're giving up something to get something.
Mm.
And so that's kind of the way that I've seen my life. There's so much, fulfillment in giving and using what you have and like taking your passions and sharing them with other people. Um, I worked a lot with kids in high school. So I taught ballet to, kids in both locally. I did it in East Palo Alto, and we were in like the basement of a church. And I've also done it in Bulgaria. I taught ballet to Syrian refugees at a camp, and just seeing their faces, it's just so delightful when you're giving them an experience like for the first time. Like they get to be on a stage or they get to learn different movements, and having that responsibility and like the way the kids look at you with such trust, it's a different feeling, and I think it makes you approach your life differently and in a better way.
Mm.
In high school I also like worked with kids in the education and the health space. And in college, when I picked up cycling, I grew up a ballerina. But in college, I needed a new sport. So I picked up cycling. And kind of since then, my philanthropic work has kind of evolved with me to focus on whatever I'm currently doing, so cycling. And the past couple years at my company, I've been able to partner with World Bicycle Relief, which is an organization that gives bicycles to people around the world who need it to get to school or get to work. And the past couple years, I've partnered with my company to do a thing where I encourage people to ride their bikes and we donate like $1 per mile to the organization. And that's just such a fun way for like a good cause and a fun way to get people moving. I think that, philanthropy is a way, at its core, it's a way to bring people together, to motivate us to expand our perspectives. And I'm always gonna want to do that in some capacity. Um,
Thank you for sharing that. I think, it's interesting. We were talking about Taylor's ripple effect, but what you just said is so powerful as well because you connected your passions and then offered it to others. And that creates a ripple effect. Those Syrian refugees in Bulgaria had an experience they probably never have had. And so you brought something new and magical when they're in such a terrible place. And so that gives them that glimmer of hope. And then that hope can sit in their heart and foster possibility because without that you you may see your reality around you and think there's nothing beyond that, so you gave them. That's making me a little emotional, honestly, thinking about that. So you are also a role model, Crystal. I think that's so beautiful. So let's talk about something else maybe we can learn too. So you said Taylor started in country, but she's had success in rock, pop, alternative. Like she's been able to have success across different genres. So, what can we learn about that too? Like, she differentiates herself from the competition. A lot of people can't do that. If they're country, they are country. I mean, we saw Beyonce do it, right? Where she won an award singing a country music song, which was,
mhm.
it's powerful when you sort
Yeah.
of break through into different genres. But talk to us about Taylor's impact there and what you've learned about how she's been able to do that.
Yeah. I think if there's one thing that sets Taylor apart, there's lots of things. But if there were one thing, I would probably say balance, because it kind of encapsulates everything that she's done. And when it comes to genre switching, she's able to balance the new with the old, um, in really simple terms. So when she went full pop, her songs were being produced differently, they sounded different. But at its core, she was still writing about her life and her perspective on the world. And when she went into alternative, that was with the COVID-19 pandemic. And she was sounding different, trying different sounds. But she was still reflecting what people were going through, giving people a voice in a time where, we kind of all needed someone to bring us together.
Mhm.
It's really about her being able to navigate new waters without losing sight of who she is. And I think that's why the fans have followed her for so long because we get a variety of music and she's gotten to appeal to different fans and like welcome new groups to the fandom, but she's never lost people along the way. It's not as much of a trade-off as you might think it is. Um, and I think that consumers get bored easily, and we're really excited when we see businesses try new things or offer new things. And so if they're able to do it right while, maintaining their core values, it's a really exciting thing for everyone involved.
Yeah. And again, it speaks to what you said about Taylor too, just being able to push the boundaries of what's acceptable and what's the norm. She's playing in a different, she's creating her own arena. She's not doing it the same way. Literally, I mean, from what I understand, these concerts are like huge
Yeah.
productions. And the fact that you said she does something different and magic, offers a little bit of magic every night. So somebody has a unique experience where they feel like that was just for them. Like, who thinks of, like, I don't think artists do this.
Yeah, it's like amazing because I went to the show twice and those nights were really magical, but there wasn't a day in the last like 2 to 3 years that I wasn't thinking about the Eras tour. And maybe it makes sense for me because I'm like a Swiftie, but I think other non-Swifties were also thinking about her during this time, and like it was a years long cultural conversation, partly due to those surprises, because I would check every night, what did she do tonight? Like what you do on the live stream? And what surprise guest or new outfit did she debut? So it was really a special way to keep us all hooked. And like my favorite Eras Tour statistic is that like from the beginning to the end of the tour, the median resale price went up, which like the Economist said didn't happen in other like big tours. It's like
Wow.
she really showed that there's an increasing utility and value over time to her concerts, just like in her songs.
Right, which is not the norm.
No, it's not.
One of the other big learnings from your book was, and I don't know the whole history with her and Kim Kardashian and her calling her a snake, but she took a situation that pulled her out of the public eye and then reclaimed her power. I think this is a great lesson for any woman. Talk to us about what we can learn. Like, give us a little bit about that backstory, because I'm not 100% sure what I know there's a history there, but, and with Kanye and all of that when they were together, but when Kim and Kanye were together.
Back to when Taylor was winning an award at the Video Music Awards for You Belong With Me, one of her early hits. And Kanye West went up on the stage and grabbed her mic and said, like Taylor, like, I'll let you finish, but I just want to say, like, Beyonce actually like had the greatest video of all time and maybe should have won. Um, but that was implied. And little side story actually, but Beyonce's video actually won the bigger award that night later. So like there was no need for, not only is it disrespectful, but even if that was what Kanye or someone believed, like there was vindication for that. Like there was,
Of course.
Beyonce did win that night, and
Yeah.
she let Taylor come up on the stage during that award, which was really sweet.
That
Um,
speaks volumes to her character as well.
for sure, yeah. Both of them are really just conquering the world.
Yes,
Um,
literally they are.
literally. But Taylor moved past it. She and Kanye reconciled at some point, and in around 2016, Kanye called her up and said, "Hey Taylor, I might want to write a song with you as one of the lyrics. He wanted to say, like, you know, there was like a tongue-in-cheek line about how like he and Taylor might still like be intimate at some point. And Taylor said, okay, like thanks for telling me, like okay. The song came out and it was a surprise because he called her like the B word in the song, and that was something that Taylor hadn't consented to. And Taylor was rightfully upset. But then everyone said, "Oh, Taylor's making a big deal out of it. It's not a big deal." And to make things worse, Kim Kardashian put out like an edited phone call,
Mm.
where she just like clipped the part where Taylor said, "Yes, that's okay."
Oh.
And so everyone believed her. And she posted it on Snapchat, which is really funny to me because I feel like Snapchat is the least reliable. Like if someone's using Snapchat as evidence, like I feel like that is questionable. As a mother of a teenager, like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
but anyway, so everyone was just quick to get on to Taylor's like downfall. I guess, they were tired of seeing her success with 1989 and, this alleged like good girl persona. She's very, clean. She doesn't, party excessively or overdose or anything. And so people were a little sick of her, like holier than thou, maybe perceived personality, and so they were ready for her to go down, and this was a way to do that. And Kim Kardashian called her a snake because she was allegedly lying. And of course, like this took a huge mental toll on Taylor. And I think about criticism generally, or like adversity, and
Or
how,
bullying.
or yeah, bullying. And a
Yeah.
lot of advice out there is just to ignore it, which is, that's like empowering in its own way. But what I love about Taylor is that she has never been able to simply ignore it. When she came back with Reputation, the album that was born out of all this drama, she made the snake like the biggest symbol of the era. She teased it with, like, she wiped her social media, she teased it with like little cryptic snake videos. And in this way, like, if she had just ignored it, like I think the fans would have been on her side. We would have been like, yeah, Taylor, new music. But she did it in a way that made like she ensured that no one could look away, whether you were a fan and you're like admiring how she's doing it, or you're a hater and you're like, oh, what else can we like judge about her? Because she's like,
Too
she's
perfect.
like taking this like snake and she's like claiming it, like what's gonna happen? She made it
Yeah.
really surprising. And so, whether you loved her or hated her, like everyone, like all my friends knew where they were, whether or not they were Swifties. They knew where they were when Taylor said the old Taylor is dead. Like that's it. Like it's like Taylor reclaimed his power by saying, I'm the only one who can call myself dead, not any of the public, not Kim, not Kanye. And so when we like incorporate and embrace adversity and bullying and criticism, there's a sense of power by kind of directly responding to that by doing what you love, which is making art or powering through a presentation or something. Yeah, it's not, you don't just have to like take it lying down.
And I'll make a parallel for my audience. So, one of the reasons I started the show is this idea that I don't want a woman looking back at the end of her life feeling like I lived for everyone else. And when we
Mhm.
let those little cuts that other people give us or the labels and we let them keep us small and we don't pursue the things, what that could ultimately result in is a life of regret where we look back and go, oh gosh, like I had that life to live. And
Yeah.
I didn't do it because I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be the outcast. I didn't want to be feeling different than everyone else because I had these ambitions that they didn't have or they didn't understand or so it's a way to reclaim your power. And so I think it's a beautiful example. I found that really interesting. Again, I don't follow the music, so I didn't know that, but I was like, there's a lot to learn from that. Um, what do you hope people will get from your book, Crystal?
I've thought about this and it's hard for me to pick an answer because I kind of want it to be like Taylor's music where everyone gets something different out of it.
Yeah.
And, so for the book, I guess maybe big, like really big picture thing is just I want them to develop an appreciation, not just for Taylor, but for pop culture and how these phenomenons that pass through our lives are not just things that happen. It's not just entertainment, but it's something that we can learn something from or think critically about, or even just like in a discussion with friends, treat it seriously and with like the weight that it deserves. But like deeper level, I just don't know. I feel like it depends on where someone is in life, whether they're coming in it as a Swiftie. And I'm not trying to like, I like, there's nothing about me that's like, oh, I know more than other Swifties. So I think of it like if you're like a diehard Swiftie, I would love you to just like read it and kind of imagine like being in conversation with me and like how you would talk to other fans about what the music means and what it all means. If you're coming into it with a business mindset and, from that area, I'd want it to be useful and practical because there are these lessons that I've mined. And, we talk a lot about Taylor, but in the book, I have like different examples of other businesses just to show because we're not all like in the music industry. And so it was really rewarding for me to go through and research other businesses, whether it was big corporations or local shops, and kind of map their models onto things that Taylor's done. And if you're just curious about any of these topics, I just hope it'll be a rewarding and fun read, and you'll be more informed on current events because, you see
Totally.
Taylor Swift everywhere.
Yeah, no, I definitely took away all of that. Even like the example of Costco and their $1.50 hot dogs that they've never increased the price on. I didn't know that. That's really smart. Just these things that you can be learning and maybe implementing in your own life or your business. Um, Crystal, if Taylor read this book, what do you hope she would say about it?
I hope she would ask me to write like the tell-all of her entire life.
We'll just put that out there in terms of the next call you get that you'd write
Oh.
her biography or something.
Yeah, but I hope she really appreciates the book because I know that, I mean, I imagine as like a famous person, you
Yeah.
have lots of people who like take your success and want to like try to explain it to other
Yeah.
people or
Yeah.
whatever. And with her, like I hope she really sees like my voice as like, a young female in her like core fan base demographic as someone who wanted to pay tribute and kind of spread, not that she needs it, but kind of like show other people and illuminate exactly how I feel about her success and how we should all feel about powerful and graceful women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She's no doubt she is a role model, and you're doing that with your course and with the book. If anyone wants to learn more about you, the work you're doing, and find the book, where do I direct them, Crystal?
Thegloryoofgivingeverything.com.
Okay, that's perfect. And that, ladies, will
Yes.
be in the show notes. And for your Swiftie, for the Swifties out there, share this with all your friends, or if you've got a teen or, a young adult in your life who's a Taylor fan, have them listen to this episode, share it with them, and have them check out Crystal's book, The Glory of Giving Everything, the Taylor Swift business model. And I've learned a lot and I appreciate it. And this has been such a fun and different conversation for the show. So thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing. I'm going to be keeping an eye on you, Crystal. I cannot wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much, Michelle. This conversation has been insightful and has flowed really, really nice. And I'm so glad we got to talk today.
Same here. Thanks so much, Crystal.